Blessed uprising family, greetings from the Culture Corner. Today we're here with another episode of the Blessed Love Podcast. It's Tanya and Igunyemi.
Igunyemi, yes.
Yep.
Blessed Love, greetings.
Hello. So we haven't made a podcast in a minute, because you can say we took a little break. But we are back, and we have a very good book that I had the actual hardback for some years now. I had it for quite some time, but I got it on audiobook because I kept wanting to read it, but I couldn't get the time to sit down and hold this book in my hand. Mm-hmm. So I got the audiobook, and then Friday when I was coming back from Georgia, I put it on and I listened to the book, and I was like, oh man. And so the book is called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. And it's by Mitch Albom. And I read quite a few books written by him. His books are always spiritual, have something to do with God and spirituality and whatnot. So when I did get this book way back in the day, I was like, okay, I know it's going to be a good one.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to read the inside flap to give everybody a way better rundown of the story than I would do if I was to try to explain it. Like I was explaining it to you the other day.
I didn't read the book. I didn't get a chance to read it.
Most things, I'm going to read it, and then Mama's just going to come with the real.
Yeah, my little own interpretation of, what.
And get the real discussion about what, was said
what
or
he's
conveyed in the book. So the book is about a story named Eddie. So
the book is about a man named Eddie?
A man named, what did I say?
A story.
A story, I'm sorry. A man named
It's Eddie's story.
Eddie's story. She's trying to say. Yes. And it's about the 5 people that he meets when he passes away and ascends up to heaven. Okay. Eddie is a grizzled war veteran who feels trapped in a meaningless life of fixing rides at a seaside amusement park. As the park has changed over the years, from the loop-de-loop to the pipeline plunge, so too has Eddie changed from optimistic youth to embittered old age. His days are a dull routine of work, loneliness, and regret. Then on his 83rd birthday, Eddie dies in a tragic accident, trying to save a little girl from a falling cart. With his final breath, he feels 2 small hands in his, and then nothing. He awakens in the afterlife, where he learns that heaven is not a lush Garden of Eden, but a place where your earthly life is explained to you by 5 people who were in it. These people may have been loved ones or distant strangers, yet each of them change your path forever. One by one, Eddie's 5 people illuminate the unseen connections of his earthly life. As the story builds to its stunning conclusion, Eddie desperately seeks redemption in the still unknown last act of his life. Was it a heroic success, or was it a devastating failure? The answer, which comes from the most unlikely of sources, is as inspirational as a glimpse of heaven itself. Right. So.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yes. So, now, as the book said, he died on his 83rd birthday trying to save somebody at the pier.
He died on his 83rd birthday?
83rd birthday. Trying to save a little girl at the pier on one of the rides. And so, when he passes away and he's ascended up, he wakes up and he's at the pier. But the pier is from the pier when he knew it as a little boy, how it looked and everything. So the first person that he runs into is called the Blue Man. So the Blue Man was a part of the I don't want to call it the freak show circuit. The
Freak show.
The freak show. The freak show. They had the hairy, the bearded woman and all that. He was part of that. And so on his birthday that year, he got a baseball for his gift. And so he actually saw the Blue Man, throwing the ball around at the pier, and the ball rolled over by their tent. And, when he went to go get it, the Blue Man spoke to him. So that was the very first time he saw him. And actually, the last time he seen him. So in the book, a year later now, he's playing with the same baseball at home. And they throw the ball to Eddie, and the ball goes over Eddie's head. So he runs to go get the ball out into the street. So he runs into the street to get the ball, gets the ball, and almost get hit by a car. But he didn't get hit, got out the way, got the ball, and he went back to playing. Come to find out, the person driving the car is the Blue Man. So the Blue Man, as he's driving the car, he swerved to miss Eddie, right? And so he missed him, and then as he kept on driving, he was just so rattled from the incident that it kind of drained him. He already had like a bad heart or whatever. And so he kind of dozed off. His head got dizzy. He kind of fell off. And so another honk. Another honk, swerved off, crashed. He had a heart attack. So now, Eddie, that's the first person Eddie meets. So he's like, why am I here? And so Eddie, that's what Eddie asks the Blue Man. So the Blue Man tells him that, okay, you just don't go right up to heaven when you come. He said, there's 5 people you got to meet before you get there. And he's there because he's still waiting to make his ascension. But he had to wait for Eddie to come. He had to wait for Eddie to come. So in this instance, so of course the Blue Man's the first lesson. So the first lesson that that was to be learned was hold on.
You given that? Okay.
Say again.
No, I was gonna ask if that's the end of that part of it. We're gonna learn what the lesson was now.
I don't know. Did you want me to say something else?
Oh, because I thought maybe he would have explained a little bit more
about
as to why they had to meet or why he had to wait for Eddie to come before he can ascend. Why did he have to wait?
Oh, I think because everybody has to wait. Nobody just ascends straight up.
Yeah, but I was talking about, he said to Eddie, well, he couldn't ascend until he come.
Because he had to teach Eddie the lesson.
Oh, okay, so that was the reason. Okay.
Right. Yeah, he had to teach Eddie the lesson. And so, dang, why did I have it? And now, that's not it. Okay.
Yeah, because you wrote it in the book.
I wrote it, and then I kind of and I marked it in the book. I'm sorry.
But what was the lesson?
So yeah, that's
lessons.
Okay. So and I kind of want to read it from here because Eddie asked him. He said, so he was like, "Why am I here? Do I have to pay?" So the Blue Man said, "No, you are here so I can teach you something. All the people you meet here have one thing to teach you. And so Eddie said, what? So the blue man tells him, there are no random acts, that we are all connected, that you can no more separate one life from another than you can separate a breeze from the wind. And so then Eddie's like, okay, but I was just throwing the ball and, this thing happened and you shouldn't have died. And it's not fair. And then the blue man said, fairness does not govern life and death. If it did, no good person would ever die young. And then he spoke of his funeral. He said, I had my funeral and people showed up. And then he asked Eddie, do you know why people showed up? And even Eddie's family went.
There, yeah.
But he was so young, he didn't remember. He remembered getting dressed that day and going to the funeral, but he didn't know it was Blue Man's. He said, why people feel that they should show up to a funeral. He said, it's because the human spirit knows deep down that all lives intersect. That death doesn't just take someone, it misses someone else. And in the small distance between taking and being missed, lives are changed. So.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's deep, yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So it's like when life ain't fair. Like some people will die.
So we think. But in a sense, something has to happen. For something else to
happen.
So it may not be fair to you at this instant and time, you know what I'm saying? But it had to happen maybe for the other person, So he had to live, so Eddie passed. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just the order of life is what he's trying to say, that's not a choice, that's not you like it or you don't like it, that's just how it is.
Right, the connection, and a little bit earlier it was like, I think Mitch that wrote, it's funny how the one incident, not funny how, but it's how the one incident will have two different endings.
Perspective, yes. So,
it ended well for Eddie, but it didn't end well for the Blue Man, but it was the same one incident, and that was the connection. And then Eddie had said to him, Eddie said, I still don't understand what good came from your death. And then the Blue Man said, you lived. And then Eddie said, but we barely knew each other. I might as well have been a stranger. And then the Blue Man said, strangers. Strangers are just family you have yet come to know.
Yeah, because if we're all one, then we're not strangers, really. And if we're all connected, nobody's a stranger, So we will cross paths with some people that, we're going to have some kind of interaction with. And it's like it said.
Known to us and unknown to us.
Because everything happens for a reason, So it was a reason why you bumped into this so-called stranger, And that so-called stranger might have just had one simple thing to say to you. You might have been depressed walking and you all kind of bumped into each other and say, I'm so sorry, oh, your hair looks so beautiful, or something like that. And you just needed to hear something to give you that pull up.
Give you that.
So, it does show the connection, because that person would just come and say the right thing at the right
thing at the right time, at the right thing. And on the flip side, a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's
the thing about
say a bad thing, or a bad thing could even happen to you, because that's the it's the same instance. It's your turn to pass pass, like the blue man passed,
Yeah.
you know, and not maybe the person that it missed,
Right.
you know, death, you know.
Right. Right.
So,
It's like Eddie. He lived.
he lived.
Yeah.
He lived.
But the story didn't end there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
That story went straight to heaven to be completed. You know? And that, I'm telling you, that's why, you know, you got to know anything you do down here, good or bad, it doesn't end there. You could have died, the other person, you could have killed somebody, somebody could have killed you, but it doesn't end there. You could get your justice elsewhere sometimes, in so to speak, because, you know, you know, that person might have killed you and nobody knew. So that person got to understand, it didn't end there. You think you got away with it, but you didn't. You know, so that is, you know, that's a real, that's a real story right there. Well, a lesson, I should say. That's a lesson.
Okay, yes. I'm going to try to find this one line. Oh my God. Okay, I'll try to find that at the end. Okay, so that was person number one.
Good
the
lesson.
Blue Man.
I like that.
Yeah, and that was the lesson.
Least we forget. You know, least we forget.
There's no random acts. We are all connected.
Right.
That
And
you can no more separate one life from another than you can separate the breeze from the wind.
that's my old, my kid's old African grandmother used to say, whatever you do for yourself. You know, if you do bad, you do bad to yourself. If you do good to yourself. So whatever you do when you get up to heaven, you'll either get a point or you will lose a point. You know? So yes, nice lesson.
All right.
Go.
Okay. So now, after the Blue Man teaches this lesson to Eddie, he can move on, and he did. So he moved on. So then Eddie goes along, and the second person he meet is the army captain, his old army captain. So after his 18th birthday now, he joined the military. And I believe it was like the Vietnam War was going on at that time. I didn't research. Anyway, so he went off to war. It was his captain. He was in charge of their company or whatever. And while they was on an island, their camp got overrun. And Eddie, the captain, and 3 other soldiers, they got captured. They got captured and they got taken to an enemy camp. So it was like four Filipino men that was holding them captive, and they called them Crazy 1, Crazy 2, Crazy 3, and Crazy 4. And so they, kept them there, and then they had to work a coal mine during the day. And I think they was there for about 6 months. And like 4 months in, one of the guys got really sick and everything, and he was very weak. And when they was in a coal mine, he fell, and Crazy 2 shot him right in the head in front of all of them. And, it was, of course, Eddie was done. He was like, oh my freaking God. And the captain was like, we got to get out of here soon, or soon they'll,
Right.
we're not going to be able to, because they was barely feeding them.
They wouldn't come out alive.
Right, they wouldn't come out alive. So, there was a 6-month mark, and one night, Crazy 3 was on guard, and he was trying to juggle some bricks. So Eddie seen him. Now, mind you, Eddie he knows how to juggle, because when he was young, he learned hanging out at the pier, at the amusement park on the pier. So as soon as he saw him trying to juggle, he knew, okay, boom.
That was the time.
That was the time. So, he lured him over, and he started juggling, and he showed Crazy 3. So then Crazy 3 got the other 3 crazies, and they were sitting there, and he was entertaining them. So as he's entertaining, he's telling the captain, hey, this is how we're going to do it. So I think it's two of them now, two of them come and they kind of surround, sitting next to them, and Eddie throwing the 3 bricks. So then he's like, on one, because they don't speak English, so they don't know what he's saying. So boom, he threw the brick up high, and then he was like, go. And next, boom, blah, 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 killed all of them. And so once they got free, they're like, okay, cool. The captain ran off. He was like, I'm gonna go try to find us a vehicle. The other 2 was like, okay, we're gonna burn this place down. So they found weapons, they found flamethrowers, and they start setting stuff ablaze or whatever. And the captain comes with the vehicle. He's like, let's go, because of course, as they're setting things afire, the enemy, either the enemy or U.S. overhead, they're going to see the fire and they're going to come. And the bombing was getting closer, just like the captain had said. So fire's blazing. So Eddie thinks he sees somebody. He's like, somebody's back there. And the dude's like, no, ain't nobody back there. Let's go. We got to go. He's like, no, somebody's in there. I got to try to save them. So Eddie, in his mind, he's going to go save the shadow that he's seen. And he starts to run back in the fire. And boom, Eddie gets shot. And so boom, he's down. They grab Eddie and they gone. So that's the last thing that Eddie remembered, from the smoke inhalation and then the passing out from the wound and then everything else. So the captain now, up there in heaven, they're sitting up in the tree and, so then the captain asked Eddie, do you remember what happened after that? And he was like, no, I don't. So then he tells Eddie, he said, no, I don't. He said, yeah, we had to get you out of there. You was hell-bent on going back in, so I shot you. So Eddie was like, what? He said, yes, I had to shoot you in your leg. Mind you now, Eddie didn't know it was the captain that shot him. So he started to fight the captain. But the captain knew. He was like, okay. He just tussled with him back and forth, and he let Eddie hit him or whatever. And then he was like, okay, you good now? and he was like, why'd you do it? And he said, I sacrificed your leg to save your life, And so, because mind you, the wound never healed properly. Eddie was never able to walk again. Always had pain in his leg, so he was like a cripple. So that too hurt him mentally when he got back home from the war.
Right.
So then the captain showed him about what happened after that, after they got him on the truck and they was pulling him out because he had passed out. They got to the top of the camp, and the captain got out and he said, I'm gonna go look ahead and make sure everything is okay. So he did, and he went down in the woods, and then at the same time, overhead bombing was coming down. And it was like as soon as he looked up, he heard a click, and he was standing on the landmine. So, of course, he blew up. And then they left and they was able to make it out. So the second lesson was sacrifice. That's what the captain, that was the lesson that he had to give to Eddie, which was sacrifice. And so, let me see. He said, Eddie said to the captain, after he told him all that, what happened, he was like, oh God, sir, I had no idea. Sir, I'm sick. It's awful. And then, the captain was like, it's okay. He said, and then he asked the captain, you've been waiting here all this time? And then the captain said, time is not what you think. He said he sat down next to Eddie, dying, dying is not the end of everything. We think it is, but what happens on earth is only the beginning, is what he tells him. Then he says, sacrifice. Hold on. He says, sacrifice. You made one, I made one, we all make them. But you were angry over yours. You kept thinking about what you lost. You didn't get it. Sacrifice is a part of life. It's supposed to be. It's not something to regret. It's something to aspire to. Little sacrifices, big sacrifices. A mother works so her son can go to school. A daughter moves home to take care of her sick father. A man goes to war. And then he said, Rebozo was the soldier that got killed. Rebozo didn't die for nothing. He sacrificed for his country and his family knew it. And his kid brother went on to be a good soldier and a great man because he was inspired by it. He said, I didn't die for nothing either. That night, we might have all driven over the landmine. Then the four of us would have been gone. He said, then Eddie said, but you lost your life. And then he said, that's the thing. Sometimes when you sacrifice something precious, you're not really losing it. You're just passing it on to someone else. So.
Okay.
Yes.
You're not losing it. You're passing it on to someone else.
Yeah. And maybe the chance to live is what he passed on. He sacrificed his life to pass on the chance to live because the captain also.
For others. For the
yes.
other three
yes,
that
for the
was
other
left
three.
also.
Because the captain's motto was, and he told the soldiers all the time, he's not going to leave anybody behind. So he said, as far as he's concerned, he kept that part.
And he kept that
part.
Right, he sacrificed himself so they could get out. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sacrifice is it's like a big word, and it's not even a good word. Right now, as in the time that we're living in, sacrifice is just a bad thing.
Right.
So nobody wants to
sacrifice
because yeah, wow.
But it is necessary,
Well,
in a lot of instances, especially like he said, the mother will sacrifice for the son to go to school. The daughter sacrificed whatever her life was to come back and take care of the sick parent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
All those are sacrifices, but in a sense, we don't see them as sacrifices. We just don't think about it. I think we see it more as a duty. It's something that we have to do, And when he put it in that context of a sacrifice, it makes it bigger. It makes it more, it's larger, it's more important. And
a must.
Yes.
A must.
Yes, it's so right. That makes it very important, and it's something like you really have to do because, and it's in a sense, yes, some people, wow, duty and sacrifice, that's how I'm looking at it, and wow, because of course it's going to hit me, the mother has to go to work so the son can go to school, so every mother can feel that part of life, and sometimes she is mad about the fact that, she has to do all these things and she has no one else to help her with the kids, and see, when you're making a sacrifice, and that's what I'm saying, when you don't realize that you're making a sacrifice and you're doing your duty, then you wouldn't feel the way you feel. You wouldn't feel like somebody needs to help you or dad needs to come and do this and you're mad and you're just sick and crazy about it.
And Eddie...
So, wow, that's, it's kind
Eddie, he had to, when his father passed, he had to come back home and take care of his mother. And in the book, it was just like that was one of the things that he really regretted. He regretted because he did not get to go off and do what he wanted to do. He had to come back.
So he had to make that sacrifice.
He had to make that sacrifice. And
Right.
he didn't see it as a good thing.
Right.
He regretted it.
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess to me, because not seeing that as a good thing doesn't hold for me. I see it as a good thing. I see it as a duty. I see it as, but obviously some people don't.
Right.
And that's when you bring about this hurt and this pain to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And not just like if you hating somebody or something, that person or that thing is not affected. You are. So that's tells you then and there that when you're making the sacrifices, be happy about it. Think about what you're doing, and
the greater good,
right?
The overall outcome, and the why,
and then what it would even bring to you at the end of, that deed that you did. You know what I'm saying? So it's putting it in a very important and it's in a high place because you know what I'm saying. Those things are like all the time, every day. These are not things that happen to people sometimes.
Right.
This is your everyday life.
Right.
And
then,
this is all that I have, but you know what? I'm going to share it with you anyway.
Right.
Just simple things you make.
But what about that? What about the decision that the captain made to even shoot him, to stop him from running off into the fire?
Yeah. I think, at first I was like, well, why would he do that too? Because it could be a good thing. That's like taking a leap of faith, I think, shooting him, to stop him from going where he goes.
But in the book, Eddie was strong as an ox, because when he first started to go in the fire, the one soldier that was on the ground with him, grabbed him, and he knocked him the hell out. So the captain was like,
yeah.
because he was hell bent on going into.
Okay, now you see when you put a light on that part, then it shows where the captain, he saw that Eddie was gonna just go over there and get killed.
Yep.
He saw that how hell bent he was on doing that, and he's like, oh no,
right,
you're not doing that.
Right, not
we
on my watch.
Get it right.
We all getting out of here.
Right. So so he felt. Then he made that choice.
Yeah.
On a dime, and like, no, I'm putting a stop to that. So I wondered what prompted him
to shoot him. Yeah,
that's what it was.
Because he saw the shadow and he knew somebody was back there and he was going to go get him. That was just the thing. And then and the captain was also saying that even though he was hell bent for whatever reason, he also attributed to when soldiers are in war and in these type of situations for a long time, and then their mind just get gone. They'll sometimes get up and walk right in the middle of the firefight, and you can't call them back, you can't drag them back, or
it's like they clicked into suicide, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So sacrifice was lesson number 2.
Right.
All right. So now
the first one was
there are no random acts. We're all connected.
We're all connected.
We're all connected.
All connected, yes.
All connected, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And we all do make sacrifices
And
for
we
each
all do
other.
make
And some people don't realize that you you are making a sacrifice when you decide to help them. You know,
And it's a part of life.
and it's such.
It's a thing to do.
Yeah,
You know.
it's such a. And it's a. When I say major part of life, means it happens all the time to the point where you don't see it, you don't think about it, you know. And I think if we are aware of it.
And if you're sacrificing, making a sacrifice for the greater good, don't regret it, because Eddie had regretted.
Yeah, you. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's his non-awareness of the fact that, you know, what you're going to do, what you have made the sacrifice for, is it's a good thing. It's a worthy thing. It's something you know, you get. I don't know why points keep coming in my mind, but you know, you get uplifted for it. You know, it's like where he is now. You know, you did what you were supposed to do. Really, it's your mom. You know, or whatever. And some people don't do it. Some people do it kicking and screaming and cussing. You know, so. It's showing you still where the greatness is in just doing that right thing, because it's a lot of things attached to it that you don't see.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And
and
the regret part thing too. The regret and even a person, and for the person who won't even make the sacrifice, you know, you don't realize those feelings or that mindset, how it gets you later on in life. You know, you might be there and you regretting it. Then everything you're doing is with hate or with disdain, and you know what I'm saying. And that spills over to the people you come in contact with. You know. Maybe if you have a spouse and your spouse is like, you know what, I'm out because you just, I don't know what the heck is wrong with you. I can't no more. You know, then it's just downward spiral.
It'll affect your life, of course.
It could affect your life. Okay. So now, number 3. Lesson number 3. So the third person he runs into now is Ruby, a lady named Ruby. So, Ruby.
We just want to say, this is the 5 things. What is the name?
Name of the book? The 5 people you meet in heaven.
Right. You meet in heaven, on your way to heaven. You don't get to heaven unless you deal with these 5 things. And not to say 5 specific things, but there are things that happen in life that you have to deal with before you go through them pearly gates. So that's the lessons here today. That's what we're talking about.
Yes. And I so hope I can find this. What was in the beginning of the book that is specifically, okay. If I can find it, I'll find it. So Ruby now. So Ruby, after the captain teaches him that lesson, the captain gets to go. So he's going along now, and he comes up upon a diner, and he sees his dad sitting in the diner, and he's trying to call his dad, but the dad is paying him no mind. And then Ruby comes up to him. So Ruby now, she reveals to him that that's who the pier is named after. Ruby Pier is the name of the pier that the amusement park is named after, where his father was the head maintenance man, where he became the main maintenance man and basically grew up and lived his whole life. And he really only left when he went off to the army. And then he had to come back. So Ruby is is telling Eddie her story on how, you know, the pier came to be. She met her husband. He built it, named it after her. It caught on fire one night. and the husband went down to try to help put the fire out, and he got hurt, and he died. Well, when he got hurt, he was hospitalized, and they pretty much lost everything. He didn't have the right amount of insurance on the amusement park, and so they was broke. So at that point, she told Eddie she wished that he never built the pier. And so Eddie had conveyed that same statement to her. He wished that he never built the pier neither, because he feels that place just kind of held him down as a man, and he could not go on, and also held his father down, you know. And that's Ruby's story. So when you meet Ruby, it also in the book, it tells the relationship between Eddie and his father. At that time, that's the time it tells you that his father was really mean to him, beat him, and he wasn't the father that you probably thought if you was reading the front of the book. And so, but he, of course, he still loved his dad, and he wanted to make his dad proud or whatever. But when Eddie came back from the war, of course, the depression, the veteran, PTSD and all that, and of course he couldn't walk, so he was sitting in the kitchen one morning, and his dad was a drunk. His dad was a drunk. Sitting in the kitchen one morning, the dad comes, and he pushes Eddie, and he tells Eddie to go get a job. So Eddie's like, well, no, dang, I really can't. So Eddie stands up, and the father goes to hit Eddie, but Eddie grabbed his hand. So when Eddie, grabbed his hand and did not let him strike him, that's when the dad just stopped talking to him forever. So they was estranged since that day. Now, Eddie's dad had a best friend who was at the house one night and started to assault the mother. And the dad came in and, he was like, so he started beating up the friend. So the friend ran. The dad ran after him. And so the friend ran out to the pier, jumped in the water. And so Eddie was the dad was gonna let him just drown, but the dad decided not to. So went in, saved the friend, got him up to shore, and they was down on the shore for maybe a day or so, and he had caught pneumonia, and that's how the dad got sick and ended up in the hospital. So in the hospital, the mom's in the hospital. Eddie is with his wife now. One day, the mom was there every day, and the one day that the mom went home to eat and change, Eddie's father gets up and goes to the window, calls the name, everybody's name in his family, says he loves him. He tried to, jump out the window, but, he didn't get the jump, but he did die. Now, this is in this part of the story because in that same hospital room, Eddie's dad was in one bed, Ruby and her husband was on the other side of the curtain. The husband was in the bed dying. So she is the one that's telling him how his father passed, and he didn't, because he had no clue on how his dad passed. So Ruby let him know that, and he's like, oh my God. And so that's so then that brings him to the third lesson that he had to learn. And Ruby told him he had to forgive his dad. And so she says, Ruby said, I hated him, he mumbled. The old woman nodded. He was hell on me as a kid, and he was worse when I got older. Ruby stepped toward him. Edward, she said softly, learn this from me. Holding anger is a poison. It eats you from inside. We think that hating is a weapon that attacks the person who harmed us, but hatred is a curved blade, and the harm we do to ourselves. Forgive, Edward, forgive. Then she asked him, do you remember the lightness you felt when you first arrived in heaven? And he said, where is my pain? She said, that's because no one is born with anger. And when we die, the soul is freed of it. But now, here, in order to move on, you must understand why you felt what you did and why you no longer need to feel it. She touched his hand. You need to forgive your father. So forgiveness was the third lesson.
Okay.
And he went back to the diner, and the father did not, speak to him while they were sitting there, but he did forgive his father. And then,
that's a big one too, forgiveness. It's a big one.
And forgiving his father, forgiving the person who gave him the most hell.
Well, that is the whole thing. You know, it's like, okay, could forgive your dad, but sometimes, it's like, even though I've seen it happen, some people's heart is that big and that open. A woman could get raped by a man that she never seen before, blah, blah, blah. And, in the courthouse, she could sit there and just forgive him, And then you want, really? Yes. Her heart was big enough to do that. And I think in those instances, that's where we learn that these types of things, it's possible that we can forgive somebody, doesn't matter what they
happened.
did. Yes, because, of course, it's like Ruby said, if you don't, you're only hurting yourself.
It's a curved blade.
Right. And if you're not aware of the fact as to why you are forgiving that person, it's not because they didn't do they did something wrong, yes, and they should be, penalized, justice must be served, and all those good little terms. But then when that has happened, even when justice is served, it doesn't ease your pain.
Yep.
Only forgiveness eases that pain.
Will ease it, yeah.
It just takes the thing away like it never happened. You can talk about it and not feel that pain. And is the pain is what is important.
Right.
Not how the story ends or justice is served.
Right.
That pain does not go away from justice. You know what I'm saying? So God put something in place
for that
of
justice.
Yes. And his law is forgive. Forgive because, and you forgive because too, you don't know the fullness of the story. We only know the incident.
You just know what happened to you.
You just know what happened, yes. But that story could have been a hell story for that person that did something to you. He went through a certain amount of hell for him to even come to that point of either whoever kill, rape, rob, whatever, So it's I would say it helps both parties, because when the person is forgiven and they could even hear you say it, it does something to them also. So you're freeing both parties. That comes back to his first lesson, the connectedness of us.
Yep.
As beings on earth that has a lot to teach us about, who we are and really what is more important than, I can't say food, clothes, shelter, but it's more important to our life because we don't just live here and die and that's the end
That's
of it.
That's
you
it.
know? So it's forgiveness also.
Big.
Wow, and I think he has, he's hitting on all of the big ones.
Yeah.
So you can't even say, well, what else?
What else is there?
Yes, he got it. He got it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Because Eddie also, he also blamed his dad for his, I hate to use the word failure, but for him not being able to become an engineer or just a better man. And, because Eddie ended up being the maintenance man just like his dad.
Yeah.
And he hated that, and he hated his dad for that. He hated that was his dad's job.
Yeah.
And he ended up doing the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And hate got him there. Hate got him right there where his dad was. So he get to feel what his dad felt, because I'm sure the dad didn't really want that for himself either. So he come and experience it, but he didn't really have to.
He didn't
but
have to.
because of the hate he held on to, it took him there. Okay, well, there you go.
Right.
It took him there.
Right.
So, boy, it's saying like, wow, we really have to. And I think that's why it's said that anything you do to yourself. We can blame other people, but it's our choices that gets us into certain spaces, places,
Oh, and
situation.
right back where you were trying to get away from.
Well, yeah, and they say the thing you hate most is what you draw to yourself, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. So forgiveness. So connected. We're all connected. Sacrifice.
We have
forgiveness.
And it's not the sacrifice where you sacrifice your soul for a demon, to a demon to get get ahead in life.
Oh yeah.
It's not that kind of sacrifice.
It's good sacrifices.
Yes.
Good sacrifices.
Yes. Things that have good endings and those things.
Right. Greater good sacrifices. Beneficial sacrifice.
Beneficial sacrifice.
All right. So now we're moving on to the fourth person. So now so now he gets a lesson. So now Ruby gets to move on.
Okay.
So everybody's waiting for Eddie to come, because they can't move on until they teach Eddie that lesson.
Settled, yeah.
So now Ruby gets to move on. And so now the fourth person he comes up to, he runs into is Marguerite. Marguerite is his wife, the only woman he ever loved, and from the story, loved him. He met Marguerite when he was 17. When he went off to the army, she told him, "I'll wait for you," and she did. When he came back, they got married. They had, they had a real meager wedding, nothing too serious, because, of course, Eddie couldn't really work. He wasn't really working at the time. He was living off the little VA benefits and all that. I just thought that was kind of funny. It was in there, the VA benefits or whatever. And so, but she stayed with him, and she loved him, and he loved her the whole time that they was together. But she passed before him. Eddie was with his friend. They was at the track, gambling, and he just went trying to win a little bit of money, because Marguerite wants to adopt because Marguerite can't have children. So, but he wasn't really feeling it anyway because, of course, he's Eddie and he's like, way too old is what he's telling her. So he's at the track, they betting, and the horse that he betted on is winning. What happened, Mom?
You said that, and it's like I pictured it like a movie. Well, I seen that, and I'm like, I think I've seen that movie before.
Oh, you think you've seen the movie? Maybe, you never know.
Never know, but wow. Okay.
Right. So the horse he betted on is winning. So he wants to go tell Marguerite. So his friends tell him, don't do it. You're going to mess everything up. And when I was listening to it, I was like, well, dang, he had enough time to go do that while the race, because I don't think the race is that long. But anyway, so he decides that he's going to go do it anyway. So he calls Marguerite and he tells her. And so she gets kind of mad. She's like, well, why are you down there gambling our money away? We trying to, save up for the adoption or whatever. So, of course, makes him mad. He hangs up the phone. She hangs up the phone. He goes back. And so she's like, dang, I shouldn't even be nagging him like that. He just trying to win us some change. And, she actually was thinking that. So she said, well, let me go down and make sure he's okay. Let him know.
It's all right.
It's all right. Boom, get in the car. She's on her way down. Passing under a bridge. Some kids at the top of the bridge. They dropping bottles off. Dropped the bottle off. Hit her windshield. She crashed. So, yes. So now she's in the hospital. She didn't die. She didn't die then. She did recover. And that incident, they didn't really talk about it, of course, because, of course, Eddie, he didn't talk much because he still hasn't even told her about being in war and everything. So they didn't talk about it, but it put a restraint on their relationship. They kind of drifted apart for a little while. Emotionally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But she didn't leave him and he didn't leave her. They were just, but then they came back together because they did love each other that much, but she did die some years later, a tumor, and so she passed. So now, like I said, she's the fourth person he met, and of course, the love comes back and everything. And so, let me see. Of course, after she passed, love, he never loved again. He didn't really love anything himself or, for the most part. So she taught him about love. To still love. So she said, oh, there was that. He said, you felt that it was snatched away and I left you too soon. You did leave too soon, he said, and you were angry with me. And she said, no. Then he said, Then she said, there was a reason for it all. There was a reason to it all, she said. Then she said, what reason? How can there be a reason? You died. You were 47. You were the best person any of us knew. And you died and you lost everything. And I lost everything. I lost the only woman I ever loved. She took his hands. No, you didn't. I was right there. And you loved me anyway. Then she says to him, love is still love, Eddie. It takes a different form, that's all. You can't see their smile or bring them food or tousle their hair. But when those senses weaken, another heightens, memory. Memory becomes your partner. You nurture it, you hold it, you dance with it. Life has to end, she said. Love doesn't. Eddie thought about the years after he buried his wife. He said, I never wanted anyone else. She said, I know. I was still in love with you. She said, I know, I felt it. And he said, here? She said, even here, she said, smiling, that's how strong lost love can be.
Wow.
And then they danced to their wedding song. It started to play. So yes, basically she just let him know that, love doesn't die.
That's what love
is. It just
yeah, the person may not be there. And and if you love that deep, that much, I think then you can still communicate that love to that person wherever they are. Like she said, even though you don't see my smile, you don't see me, but you have the memories. You could be dancing all by yourself, just dancing with her, just in your imagination, and you remembering the good times and all of that, and that could take you through life until you meet again. So yeah, and that's true love. That's what we call true love. It's real love, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because some of us can't go through certain things with the one we love, and then I think it brings to mind the soulmate and the twin flame situation. That is that twin flame love.
Yes.
Because we understand, we meet people, soulmates, and you tell yourself, oh my God, I just love him. Me and him, we just get along so fine. I finish it, I complete his sentences, and you go through all that and but there's more to come. There's more behind that. Is that love really? All of what you building up here in your emotions? Is it emotions, or is it really love? Because love will sustain, and sometimes for most of us, we don't have the right, conception or perception of what love really is.
Right.
And we have this is a worldly love. The love is well, you're not bringing in any money, you're not doing anything, blah, blah, blah. It's not that kind of supportive love, and which means you don't really feel it. There's a different you looking
for the physical manifestation of it. Now you love. Now I love you because you.
Yes. But emotional love, it's more emotional love. It's emotional love. It could be a sensual, sexual love, but it's not a love from the heart. Love only comes from the heart. And that kind of love doesn't come every day. Not everybody get to experience that.
Yeah.
And
because they drifted apart, but they still loved each other through that terrible accident.
Yeah.
They stayed together, and they came back together over time. Okay, yep. And they took their time apart, but they came back together. They came back together.
Because when it comes to what they call twin flame, my feeling is that you were created out of that one flame. Well, we all were created in duality anyway. You know what I'm saying? But in that creation, everybody has a twin flame, really, because at some point, that is how creation was created for male and female. So when we come here, just like how we forget everything, or when we, when we're put on earth, we forget everything, and so your twin flames sometimes don't even come in at the same time you're here. Sometimes you get here and your twin flame is nowhere around, and that leaves you very broken. You know, it's that looking for love in all the wrong places. It's a part of that, yeah. And it that love, you want it. You can't find it anywhere.
Right.
And then sometimes in the way how earth moves, it have people that will come and just really break your heart over and over till you know, till you don't even know how to love in a proper manner, you know. So it's just because love is one of the strongest energies. It's the hardest one to achieve. I think it's the most difficult to achieve, especially because you meet people that you might feel
connect
that,
with,
like I said,
you know.
you guys connect, you know. Like everybody is in this dream, you know. Like, he likes what I like. Oh,
Right. And you telling everybody, and then you know, 6 months later, what happened?
It's, you know, it's not, that's not the one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But sometimes it may not be the one, and you may never meet the one. Because he's just not on earth. You might be here and he might be in Alaska. You know? Y'all may not meet at this lifetime. You know, and maybe you guys met in your last lifetime and went through what y'all had to go through, you know, and you came back because you might have had something that was undone, like, what's his name?
Eddie?
Like Eddie, but your partner didn't. He might have completed all his tasks. So he's there waiting for you, just like all of Eddie's friends, because you did not, you know what I'm saying, complete things in the correct manner that you're supposed to for y'all to be this way again. So you might be here, and when you pass, you're gonna meet him, he or she. You know what I'm saying?
So that makes you ask, so what do you do on Earth? If your twin flame not coming, then who you gonna be with?
It's like whomever, you have to get married, you have to have kids, because that's how it is on Earth. You can't say, well, I'm here, but I'm waiting for my twin flame. So I don't see
no go section.
I don't see him coming.
No go section. Yeah, but no, that's what I'm asking. I'm like, well, dang. It's like, okay, you know.
You go on with your life.
You just got to go on.
Life.
Okay.
You know, and how you understand that you love your twin flame, you're going to love this person the same way. That's if if you had that twin flame love before, no other love could really come and match that.
Right.
But the love that you have created, spending that time with him, has become so big that you really just love, period. You know, you just love people. You have some people just happily loving everybody. Oh, can I help you with this? You know, that kind of love, that kind of just, okay. They're here and they know that they have to do a certain set of things to unite. If I have a husband, I know he's not the one, you know. I don't really love him, but he's a nice person. You know, he does things for me. I love him as I would love anybody else. You know?
You don't get nothing deeper.
You don't even have to go deeper. Or you could if you want to, and you could if you can.
Right.
You know, but because at the end of the day, love is love. Whether I love you or I love my husband, love is love. Love is how you deal with people, treat people, get along with people, care for people. Love is not just the word where love,
Right.
it's not that. And maybe sometimes that's why you are here, to learn that kind of love. So this way you are complete in your love lesson then, It's too easy, you didn't make that grade to be with your twin flame like that, because you have a little blemish still going on.
You gotta see.
And it has to be complete. Yeah, the love have to be complete. It have to be wholesome, So that's how I see it anyway. I just think when you're down here, some people will fall in love with somebody, whether male or female, and that person, they are going through their journey. They are loving you like if you were just gold and everything in their life, and they just over love you. They're treating you better than you even treating yourself, and you just reject all of that love. You just keep rejecting it. You're treating him he or she like a dog. You're just hating. And you could measure that to see this person don't have no idea of what, love is. Love hurts his feeling, he or she. They just don't know love. And they don't really want any part of it, So their measure of love is really small. They love things maybe,
Oh, you talking about the person getting loved by the other person? The person getting loved on.
That's getting the love.
Oh, right. Okay.
They,
I'm with you.
They probably...
At first I thought you were talking about the other person. I was like,
no.
well, dang. Okay. No, I'm tracking now.
That person ain't never even smelled their twin flame, nor their, not even a soulmate. Their heart is so hard. It's either that or they have been hurt so many lifetimes coming down the funnel that heart...
Right.
And even if they meet their twin flame, it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Not going to work. So, for the beautiful thing that love is, I think when you understand what love really is, and then again you yourself, you could judge it from your own self, your own heart, and you could tell that person, the other person that may not feel love, want to give love or whatever, it's a matter of compassion for them, and you just get out their way, because I'm not going to ruin that means I'm going to ruin my chances to meet my love. I'm not going to be there fighting with you and carrying on and all of that.
Right.
Because then what's going to happen at the end of my day? I want to meet, I've been here struggling with you and every other idiot that I might, every other person that you might have been, dealing with. And you trying to be as good to them because that's what's in you, it's in your heart. And if you remain that way, you don't let anybody take that from you, at the end of the day, you're going to meet that twin flame and you're going to be happily ever after. And they be trying you. They're trying you every day to just make you just be just like them. So they're going to cuss you because they want you to cuss them back. You know what I'm saying? This type of way. It does get real deep when love and hate comes together. One person love and the other person just hating. Is your trial. You who trying to love, boy, you under a heavy test. You wonder what it is you did wrong.
Right.
Right. So, but you just got to hold on to that. You just got to hold on to it, and maybe only you could free yourself.
Right.
Because when you meet somebody like that, be aware that person has
It's
the
not it.
issues that, right, and the quicker you could move away from it, because you cannot fix them. You're not the twin flame, you can't fix them, because sometimes not even twin flame
Can do
fix
it.
somebody in a certain condition of love. That takes real God situation. So we got love.
Love.
Love,
Love.
the most important thing, because love conquers all.
Love is the whole thing. And he spent the most time, he was able to spend the most time there with Marguerite. And he was very thankful for it, you know. And after he caught the lesson, then she moved on. And he wasn't like feeling no type of way, I should say.
No, because,
Right.
yeah.
Like he was when she passed on earth.
The first time.
All right. So, last person, last lesson. So the last person that he meets is a girl named Tala, is her name. So, come to find out, when they was burning down the enemy camp, there was a shadow. It was a real person. And it was Tala, little girl. She was telling him that, you know, she was there because, you know, somebody told her to hide in the hut from the American soldiers. So that's what she was doing there. And and once it caught fire, you know, she ran and he did see her. So he was like, you know, I'm sorry. I tried to save you. But she, let me see. She basically,
You need to highlight it there.
I know, I should have highlighted it. So after he realized that she was the girl, she made him, you know, clean off the burn marks, you know, because when he seen her, she was charred and burned and all that kind of stuff like that. And then, you know, she was by the water, and then she gave him a stone, and, you know, he cleaned her. And then, you know, she looked like a normal girl. And so then she asked him, you know, why are you sad? And then, so each person, so before that, each of the other 4 people, he asked them, did he save the girl? And none of them, you know.
Did he save the girl from
the amusement park ride where he passed? So he asked Tala asked him why he's sad. He said he don't know. He said, I was sad. No, why are you sad? And she said, he said, where? Here? And she said, no, why were you sad there on earth? So he said, I was sad because I didn't do anything with my life. I was nothing. I accomplished nothing. I was lost. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be there. Then Tala said to him, supposed to be there. You know, she's the little girl voice. And then he said, where? At Ruby Pier? And she nodded her head yes. And he said, fixing rides? That was my existence? He said, and then he blew a deep breath and was like, why? Then she said to him, children, you keep them safe. You make good for me. Then she said to him, it's where you're supposed to be. She said, and then she touched his shirt patch and said, Eddie, maintenance man. So she basically let him know that
wow. I caught it.
yes, that's where you're supposed to be, you know. everything, you being the maintenance man there, you shouldn't be sad about it because you was there. Because he was always good, always good to the kids and all this kind of stuff. But you were there to save her life at that point in time.
Yeah, but when you said that,
What's that?
When she touched his shirt and said, you were supposed to be there because you're Eddie, the maintenance man. What went through my mind is the fact that, okay, so we could spend a whole lifetime on earth because we came to just do that one thing. That's how I felt.
Yo, mommy, right.
I'm like, wait a minute.
That one thing.
That one thing you were supposed to be in this spot at this time on this day in this year to save this specific person
at this time.
So it's like destiny. That's what his destiny was then, to do just that.
But then doesn't that make you think, well, it was a good thing he didn't learn these lessons, because if he learned these lessons, then maybe he would have been off doing something else.
And that's the thing too. Don't get me.
He would not, he'd have went off and been the engineer.
Yes, but then you could see it in your own life too. You see it in your own life if you really check it out. That stems from all the bad things that happened to you also, because everybody got a whole line of bad things that happened to them, which put them in a certain place, a certain state of mind, because you and this person was having a real hard time in Atlanta, you moved to some other state. Why? Because you were supposed to be in the state to meet whomever you were supposed to meet there, to save, whatever, to help, to whatever. So if this didn't get bad, you would not have been where you were supposed to be.
Right.
So it's wow. It's like wow, but it makes you feel like, okay, so all them bad things, all right.
It's supposed to happen. Okay, they was bad, but it was right for real though. Like,
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying? Oh
I gotta digest that a little further.
You could really, that's a something.
But it seemed like
that's a something.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because she said it's where you were supposed to be.
It's where you were supposed to be. That's kind of things that make you go Yeah, could somebody explain that? That's because it's clear deep what she said, and it sounds so deep, it sounds true, because you can think about how your life, the people you meet, and if all of that is not an accident. So these things are happening for something else to happen. So
at some point,
you could be on point in your destiny and your journey. All right, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So that's what Tala told him, that that's where you were supposed to be.
I hope
her and so at the end, and so her passing in the fire, because in the end, he asked Tala, did he save the girl? So he said, did I pull her out? Then Tala told him, no, you didn't pull her, you pushed her. And he was like, no, I felt her hands in my hands. He was like, no, you pushed. And then she told him, those were my hands. And she said, and when she grabbed, in the book it says she touched his hands, and then he instantly knew that those were the hands that he felt, not the girl he saved. And then Tala said, not her hands, my hands. I bring you to heaven, keep you safe. Hot dog, hot diggity dog. So she was supposed to die in the fire so she could save him 83 years later, because at 83 on his birthday.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, it feels so true, so real that you know what I'm saying? I can't even say what I'm saying because she pulled him out.
She pulled him up to heaven. Yeah. He
Yeah.
pushed the girl out the way. He saved her. And then she saved him.
Yeah.
Probably from, like, maybe saved him from being on Earth any longer.
Yes, and maybe he might have gotten hurt really bad too, and be more crippled with nobody to love him, no help him.
True. Because he outlived his father, his mother, his brother,
His wife.
and his wife.
Yeah. So she said, I'm going to help you. You know what? Which helps her. She too could go straight on. He could go straight on. My pause is raising.
And then,
Oh my God.
after that, he gets to go up and he goes to Marguerite. Him and Marguerite are
Goes to
together
his
again.
wife. Oh.
You gonna cry, Mom? He gets to go up and he meets Marguerite. Him and Marguerite are together again.
Yes. Oh my God.
So that was the book.
I'm telling
And when
you,
I
that's a good book.
when I was writing, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Life. We don't even know life.
Don't even.
We don't even know it. We're just
No.
blind.
No.
We're moving around in here, just really blind.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my freaking gosh. Crazy.
Read the back of the book. That's one thing that somebody wrote. The back of the book.
Was it the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only thing I read off the book, and I
Okay.
just thought it was, so well said.
This is so on the back of the book,
That's
a
where
couple of
all the
people
accolades,
gave some
people
accolades for
yeah.
the book. So the first one says, "This is the fable you will devour when you fall in love.
Yes.
This is the tale you will keep by your side when you are lost. This is the story you will turn to again and again because it possesses the rare magic to let you see yourself in a world anew. This book is a gift to the soul."
It sure is.
Amy Tan, author of the Joy Luck Club and the Bone Setter's Daughter.
Yeah. It opened up a whole, just a new perspective. You just had certain things move from out your mind space, and he just came and dropped that in there. You know what I'm saying? He dropped something new.
Yeah, it was like,
in
whoa.
there that really can take you to spaces, help you to understand, overstand certain things, the why, the how,
Understand you and maybe give you insight on, okay, well, I just need to be paying, not really paying attention, but I just need to know that lessons and having the right emotions and doing the right thing and day in and day out.
All right. You see, you know what I'm saying? It's like the effect. It hit. I know how it hit me, and I'm thinking it's hitting you the same way, and so that makes it so very real.
Yeah.
It's like real. It's something that you can't dismiss. I
know that's why I had to come back and say, I said, I got to tell Mom about this book because
oh wow,
I just know This is
I think everybody
it.
should read that book
This is one.
because, yeah, it really settles out some things within yourself
Yeah.
that it will become clearer to you. You need clarity in life so you can see where you're going, what you're doing, why, how come, you know? Wow. So we give him thanks for the author. What's his name?
Mitch Albom.
Mitch Albom. Hell a book, heaven a book.
Yeah, he got quite a
Give him
few.
thanks. You don't need to read any more books. This one, you don't need to write anymore. Wow. I can imagine then what else did he write about? You know, well, he just trumped my man,
Mr. Peterson.
Peterson. Yeah, he trumped him, boy. This is deep.
Yes.
So,
And I got the book on Audible.
right.
That's what I listened to.
Yeah, I really
On the way
think,
up.
I mean, we tried to give, you know, the meaning to his book and explain it the best way we can. But I think that if you get the book and read the book, I think it'll give meaning to your life. You know, it will help you change things. I think you might even go tell people that they're forgiven or understand your love life a little better and just because I know we hear all these things. We hear about twin flames and we hear about how to love and how to manage, but this has like that person said, it has a depth. It has a depth that it really touches your soul. And when things touch your soul, it changes things, touches you, you know? So, good book. We give thanks here at the Culture Corner. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast because I certainly did enjoy listening to the book. I didn't read it, but oh my God. And I'm not even going to go back and read it. I think it might, I'm afraid it might change the perspective that I got right now. I love what I have. So on that note,
I'd like to wish our families, our tribe, and our community blessed
uprising.
uprising. We wish you love,
Peace,
joy, and abundance.
Now go and conquer your day.
Blessed
Blessed love.